The silence in this cabin is a physical thing. It has weight. It presses in on me. A heavy blanket woven from pine needles, damp earth, and loneliness. Some days, it's a comfort, a fortress against a world that never wanted the quiet parts of me. Other days, it's a tomb. Today, it feels like the latter. The rain helps. It drums a frantic, chaotic rhythm on the tin roof, a temporary reprieve from the suffocating stillness within. I trace the rim of my chipped ceramic mug, the tea inside long gone cold. My reflection stares back from the dark window pane, a pale, haunted-looking stranger with my eyes. Serafina, a name that means the cheerful one. A bitter irony my parents could never have foreseen. I haven't been cheerful in years. Not since the last doctor, the one with the kind eyes and the cruel words, confirmed what I already knew in the marrow of my bones. Barren. A word that sounds like a slammed door. A word that Dimitri had hurled at me like a stone during our final, explosive argument. What good is a beautiful vase if it can't hold flowers? He'd sneered, his handsome face twisted into something ugly and unrecognizable. The memory is a fresh sting, even now, 2 years later. 2 years since I packed a single bag, drained my half of our joint account, and drove north until the city lights were just a toxic orange smear in my rearview mirror. I ended up here. A small cabin my grandfather had built, nestled deep in a forest so old it seemed to breathe. It was supposed to be a sanctuary, a place to heal. But some wounds don't close. They just fester in the quiet. The infertility was the diagnosis, but the real wound was the betrayal, the casual indifference, the stark realization that my worth, to him, to the world he represented, was purely functional. I was a means to an end, an heir, a legacy. When that function failed, I became decorative, then disposable. So I ran. I ran from the pitying looks, the whispers at parties, the hollow ache of seeing mothers with their children in the park. I ran from myself. But you can't outrun the silence inside your own body, the empty space that echoes with every heartbeat. A sudden, violent crack of thunder shakes the cabin to its foundations. The lights flicker, then die. Darkness swallows the room whole, absolute and immediate. I don't flinch. I'm used to the temperamental generator. The only light is the ghostly glow of the moon, breaking through the storm clouds in fleeting silver shards. Another sound cuts through the drumming rain. Not thunder, something else. A frantic scratching at the front door. My heart seizes, a cold fist in my chest. No one comes here. The nearest town is a 40-minute drive, and the locals know to respect the privacy of the hermit woman in the woods. They think I'm strange, maybe a little mad. They leave me be. The scratching comes again, more desperate this time, accompanied by a low, guttural sound that is definitely not human. A bear? A wolf? My breath catches in my throat. My grandfather's old hunting rifle is mounted above the fireplace, but I haven't the faintest idea if it's loaded, let alone how to use it. Logic screams at me. Stay inside. Stay quiet. Wait for it to go away. It's the sensible thing to do, the safe thing. But then a third sound joins the chorus. A cry. Thin, weak, and utterly desolate. It's the cry of an infant. Every cell in my body freezes. It can't be. It's a trick of the wind, the storm playing games with my frayed nerves and my aching, empty womb. But the cry comes again, a heartbreaking little wail that slices right through my fear. It's real. A baby, out there, in this storm, with whatever that other thing is. The memory of being abandoned, of being deemed worthless and left behind, rises in me like bile. The echo of Dimitri's voice, cold and final. The image of myself, small and alone in a world that didn't care enough to help. Number, not on my watch. I will not be the person who hears a cry for help and does nothing. I will not be them. My fear is still there, a cold, sharp-edged stone in my gut. But my compassion, that deep, wounded part of me that yearns to nurture, to protect, it's stronger. It has to be. Grabbing the heaviest iron poker from the fireplace, I take a deep, shuddering breath and unbolt the door. I pull it open just a crack, peering into the maelstrom. The sight that greets me steals the air from my lungs. It's a wolf, but it's like no wolf I have ever seen or read about. It's massive, impossibly so, its fur the color of a starless midnight sky soaked and matted with rain, and something darker. Blood. Its shoulder is a mess of torn flesh, a grievous wound that looks deep and angry. It's leaning heavily against the doorframe, its huge body trembling with exhaustion and pain. Its eyes, which seem to glow with a faint internal luminescence, are fixed on me with a terrifying, unnerving intelligence. And curled beneath its massive, protective body, wrapped in what looks like a swath of black velvet, is a bundle, the source of the crying. The wolf lets out a low whine, a sound not of aggression, but of desperate supplication. It nudges the bundle forward with its nose, a clear, unmistakable offering. My God, my mind struggles to process the scene. It's a fever dream, a hallucination. But the baby's cry is real. The scent of wet fur and fresh blood is real. The cold rain lashing my face is real. This is happening. My decision is made before I'm even aware of making it. The world left me. It deemed me unworthy of care. I will not do the same. Okay, I whisper, my voice trembling. Okay, come on. I swing the door wide. It's a breach of every wall I've ever built. An invitation to the wild, the dangerous, the unknown, into the very heart of my sanctuary. The great wolf seems to understand. With a final, monumental effort, it stumbles across the threshold, its claws scrabbling softly on the wooden floor. It collapses onto the braided rug in front of the cold fireplace, its breathing shallow and ragged. It never takes its intelligent, glowing eyes off me. I shut the door, the sound of the bolt sliding home feeling strangely final. I've just locked myself inside with a wounded predator and a crying infant. Am I insane? Probably, but as I kneel down, my hands shaking, and gently lift the velvet-wrapped bundle, the baby's cries soften to a weak whimper. I pull back the cloth, and I gasp. The baby is beautiful, impossibly so. Pale skin, a dusting of fine, jet-black hair. But it's the eyes that are so startling. They are open, and they are the color of deep twilight, holding a wisdom that no infant should possess. And at the corner of its perfect little mouth, I see them. Two tiny, exquisitely sharp fangs, barely peeking past its upper lip. My heart hammers against my ribs. This is not a human child. And that massive, bleeding creature on my floor is not just a wolf. A cold dread, deeper and more primal than anything I've felt before, washes over me. The warnings of my grandfather, stories told by the fire about the things that lurked in the deep woods, things best left alone, come rushing back. But then the baby makes a small, snuffing sound and turns its head, rooting against my chest. Its vulnerability is a punch to the gut. It's just a baby, a hungry, cold, orphaned baby. Whatever it is, whatever its protector is, right now, they are helpless. They came to me for aid. I look from the strange, beautiful infant in my arms to the dying beast on my floor. Fear and compassion war within me, a silent, vicious battle. Compassion wins. All right, I say, my voice finding a strange, new strength. I'm speaking to them, to myself, to the storm-tossed universe. Let's get you taken care of. First, the baby. It's cold, its little body chilled from the rain. I find the softest wool blanket I own and wrap it securely, tucking it into the worn armchair near the hearth. It watches me with those unnervingly intelligent eyes, no longer crying, just observing. What does a baby like this eat? The question sends a fresh wave of anxiety through me. The tiny fangs are a clear indicator that milk is not on the menu. My mind races. Blood. It has to be blood. The thought is horrifying but practical. I have venison in the freezer from a deer that wandered onto the road last fall. I keep a small supply of animal blood drained and frozen for making blood sausage, a recipe my grandfather taught me. It feels macabre and insufficient, but it's all I have. I'll figure that out later. First, the wolf. I light a few oil lamps, casting a warm, flickering glow over the room. The shadows dance, making the creature seem even larger, more mythic. I approach it slowly, my heart in my throat. I'm not going to hurt you, I murmur, the words feeling foolish and small. I just want to look at your shoulder. It remains still, its head resting on its paws, but its luminous eyes track my every move. There's no growl, no sign of aggression, just a profound, weary stillness. I kneel beside it. The smell of its blood is coppery and sharp. Up close, the wound is worse than I thought. Deep gashes, torn muscle. It looks like it was attacked by something with massive claws. Or maybe something made of silver. An old legend surfaces, unbidden. I push the thought away. One impossibility at a time, I retrieve my first aid kit, the one I keep for my own frequent clumsiness. It's pathetically inadequate for this, but it's a start. With trembling hands, I take a clean cloth and dip it in warm water from the kettle I'd placed on the wood stove. Gently, so gently, I begin to clean the wound. The wolf flinches, a muscle twitching along its back, but it makes no sound. Its fur is thick and surprisingly soft beneath the matted, wet exterior. The heat coming off its body is intense, like a furnace. You're very brave, I whisper, my voice thick with emotion. Protecting him. You're a good father. The word father hangs in the air between us. The wolf's gaze softens, a flicker of something that looks like gratitude. Or maybe I'm just projecting my own desperate narrative onto it. I clean the wound as best I can, disinfect it with the harsh sting of antiseptic, and then, using the largest bandages I have, I wrap the shoulder. It's a clumsy, makeshift job. As I work, I talk. I don't know why. Maybe the silence is too much to bear. Maybe it's because this creature, this silent, wounded beast, feels like a safe confidant. It can't judge me. It can't sneer or pity or dismiss. My name is Serafina, I say softly. I live here alone. I prefer it that way. People can be disappointing. I tell it about Dmitri, about the hollow words and the colder silences. I tell it about the doctors and the ache of emptiness that never goes away. The words pour out of me, a confession whispered into the storm, witnessed only by a dying wolf and a fanged infant. It feels like lancing a wound. Painful, but necessary. When I'm done, I sit back on my heels, emotionally and physically exhausted. The wolf lifts its massive head and does something that stops my breath. It leans forward and gently, deliberately, licks the back of my hand. Its tongue is rough, like coarse sandpaper, but the gesture is one of profound, shocking tenderness. A single tear escapes and traces a hot path down my cheek. I don't know what I've brought into my home, but for the first time in years, I don't feel entirely alone. The days that follow fall into a strange, surreal rhythm. My life, once a predictable pattern of solitude, is now dictated by the needs of my two mysterious guests. The baby, who I've started to call Orion, a name I read in a book of old myths, meaning of the fierce people, is a quiet, watchful presence. Feeding him is a delicate, unnerving process. I thaw the frozen venison blood and warm it gently over the stove, testing the temperature on my wrist like I've seen mothers do with milk. I use a small medicine dropper to feed him, a few drops at a time. He takes it eagerly, his strange twilight eyes fixed on mine. It's the most maternal I have ever felt, and it breaks my heart. The wolf, who I simply call Wolf in my head, for he feels too immense and ancient for any other name, spends most of his time resting by the fire. He is a silent, brooding shadow in the corner of my small cabin. But he is not just an animal. I am more certain of that with every passing hour. He watches me. When I read, his gaze follows the page. When I speak to Orion, his ears twitch, as if listening to every word. And he is healing. Impossibly fast. The wound on his shoulder, which should have been a death sentence, or at the very least taken months to mend, is closing at a miraculous rate. Within 3 days, the angry red has faded to a puckered pink scar. By the end of the week, new dark fur is already beginning to cover it. It's unnatural. It's impossible. And it confirms my deepest fears and suspicions. These are not creatures of my world. I should be terrified. Every instinct for self-preservation should be screaming at me to run, to find a way to get them out of my house. But I'm not scared. Not anymore. The fear has been replaced by something else. A quiet sense of comfort. A feeling of being seen. In the evenings, after I've fed Orion and settled him in a makeshift cradle I fashioned from a laundry basket, I sit on the rug by the fire, near the wolf. And I talk to him. I tell him things I've never told another soul. Dmitri used to say my quiet was a flaw, I whisper one night, the firelight dancing on the wolf's dark fur. He wanted someone sparkling, someone who could charm his business partners. I always felt like I was failing a test I didn't know I was taking. The wolf lets out a low rumble, a sound that vibrates through the floorboards and into my bones. It's a sound of displeasure, of anger on my behalf. He rests his great head on my knee. The weight is solid, real, and deeply comforting. His fur is soft and warm. I hesitate for only a moment before my hand comes to rest on his head, my fingers stroking gently between his ears. He leans into my touch, a soft sigh escaping him. This is our routine. My whispered confessions, his silent, steadfast comfort. He has become the keeper of my sorrows. I feel a bond forming between the three of us, a strange, unspoken connection woven in the firelit quiet of the cabin. Me, the broken human. Him, the impossible healing beast. And Orion, the child of twilight, who watches us both with ancient eyes. We are a fractured, impossible little family. And for the first time in my life, I feel a glimmer of something I'd long given up on. Hope. One afternoon, nearly 2 weeks after their arrival, I'm sitting with Orion trying to entice him with a small wooden bird I carved. He's not interested in the toy. Instead, he keeps reaching his tiny, perfect hand out towards the wolf, who lies sleeping by the hearth. A gurgle of frustration escapes him. "He's sleeping, little one," I murmur. "Let him rest." But Orion is insistent, his little fingers opening and closing, a desperate, grasping motion. And then I feel it. A pull. A strange, tangible tug in my chest, centered right over my heart. It's not a physical sensation, but an emotional one, a current of longing and connection that flows from the baby through me and towards the wolf. It's so strong it makes me dizzy. "What is this?" The wolf's eyes snap open. He isn't looking at the baby. He's looking at me. His gaze is intense, questioning. He felt it too. The moment is broken by a sound that makes my blood run cold. The sound of a car engine? Not just an engine, a specific one. The low, arrogant purr of a German sports car. An engine I prayed I would never hear again. Dmitri, my sanctuary is about to be violated. Panic, cold and sharp, floods my system. The wolf rises to his feet in a single, fluid motion. A low growl begins deep in his chest, a terrifying, menacing sound that is nothing like the comforting rumbles he gives me. He moves to stand between me and the door, a living shield of shadow and fury. "No," I whisper, my voice shaking. "No, you can't. He can't see you." The wolf ignores me. His glowing eyes are fixed on the door, his body coiled like a spring. I scoop Orion into my arms, my heart hammering against my ribs. A car door slams. Footsteps, confident and heavy, crunch on the gravel path. A sharp, impatient knock echoes through the cabin. "Serafina, I know you're in there. My God, do you really live in this hovel? Open the door." His voice, condescending, entitled. It scrapes against my raw nerves. "Go away, Dmitri!" I call out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Don't be ridiculous, darling," he scoffs from the other side of the door. "I have business in the area. I thought I'd check in, make sure you hadn't been eaten by squirrels. Now, open up. It's freezing out here." The wolf's growl deepens, vibrating with a lethal promise. "Please," I beg the wolf in a desperate whisper. "Hide. In the bedroom. Please." His eyes meet mine, and for a split second, I see conflict in their luminous depths. Then, with a reluctance that is almost palpable, he turns and pads silently into the small bedroom, disappearing into the shadows. I take a deep breath, clutch Orion tighter, and open the door. Dmitri stands on my porch, looking utterly out of place in his expensive cashmere coat and tailored suit. His handsome face is set in a familiar expression of faint disgust as he surveys my humble home. "Well, well," he says, his eyes raking over me, taking in my simple flannel shirt and worn jeans. The rustic life certainly agrees with you. You look healthy. It's not a compliment. What do you want, Dmitri? I ask, my voice flat. His eyes drop to the bundle in my arms. His perfectly sculpted eyebrows raise in surprise, then suspicion. What's that? Don't tell me you've taken in a stray? He pushes past me into the cabin, bringing the scent of expensive cologne and city smog with him, a contamination of my sacred space. You need to leave, I say, turning to face him. Not before you tell me what's going on, he says, his gaze fixed on Orion, who has thankfully hidden his face in my neck. Whose is it? Did you finally find some lumberjack to knock you up? The crude words are a physical blow. Get out, I say, my voice dangerously low. Or what? He sneers, taking a step closer. You'll throw a pine cone at me? Serafina, this pathetic little fantasy is over. I need you to come back. I stare at him, incredulous. Come back? Why on earth would I ever do that? My father is putting pressure on me about the succession, about an heir, he says, as if this is a perfectly reasonable explanation. My new girlfriend, Victoria, she's not the maternal type. You are. We can adopt, I suppose. It's not ideal, but you'll present well. You'll play the part. He's not asking me. He's telling me. He thinks he can just walk back into my life and slot me back into place like a piece of furniture he'd temporarily put in storage. The sheer, breathtaking arrogance of it leaves me speechless. You think, I begin, my voice trembling with rage. You think you can just show up here after everything and tell me to come back and play a part for you? It's a good offer, Serafina, he says, his patience clearly wearing thin. Better than this. He gestures around my cabin with a dismissive wave. He takes another step towards me, his hand reaching out as if to take Orion from me. Give me the child, he says, his voice hardening. We need to talk, and that thing is a distraction. That's when it happens. A blur of motion, a sound that is not a growl but a roar of pure, possessive fury. The bedroom door splinters off its hinges. It's not the wolf that emerges. It's a man, or something that looks like a man. He is impossibly tall, broad-shouldered, and clad in shadows that seem to cling to him like a second skin. His hair is as black as the wolf's fur, his face a sculpture of harsh, aristocratic beauty. And his eyes are the same luminous, intelligent, terrifying eyes that have been watching me for weeks. Dmitri freezes, his mouth falling open in a silent scream of terror. The man, the being, moves with a speed that is not human. He crosses the room in a single, silent step, his presence sucking all the warmth from the air. He places himself between me and Dmitri, a definitive, unbreachable wall. You will not touch her, he says. His voice is a low, resonant baritone, laced with ancient power and cold, lethal rage. It's the voice of kings and predators. It's the voice I've been hearing in my soul. Dmitri stumbles backward, his face ashen with terror. What the hell are you? The man doesn't answer. He simply looks at Dmitri with an expression of utter contempt. Then, Dmitri does something suicidally stupid. His fear gives way to bravado. From the pocket of his coat, he pulls a small, ornate silver letter opener. A ridiculous, foppish thing. Get away from her! Dmitri threatens, brandishing the silver point. The man's lip curls in a sneer that is both terrifying and beautiful. You dare threaten me? With that toy? Dmitri lunges. It's a clumsy, desperate move. The man moves like lightning. He sidesteps the lunge, his hand shooting out to grab Dmitri's wrist. There's a sickening crunch of bone. Dmitri screams, a high, thin sound of pure agony, and the letter opener clatters to the floor. But in his flailing, Dmitri manages to swipe the silver point across the man's forearm. A hiss of pain escapes the dark man's lips. A thin line of black smoke rises from his skin where the silver touched him, the flesh sizzling like water on a hot skillet. He shoves Dmitri away with contemptuous force. Dmitri flies across the room, crashing into the wall with a sickening thud before sliding to the floor in a crumpled, moaning heap. The dark man stands panting in the center of the room, his attention now fixed on the smoking wound on his arm. He cradles it, his handsome face contorted in pain. He seems vulnerable. My feet move without my permission. The world has narrowed to this single, impossible moment. Orion is safe in my arms. Dmitri is a pathetic, whimpering heap on the floor. But this being, this man-wolf, my silent confidant, my protector, he is hurt because of me. I place Orion gently back in his cradle, and then I walk towards the dark stranger. He looks up as I approach, his luminous eyes wide with alarm. Stay back, Serafina, he commands, his voice strained. I am not safe. I ignore him. I see the pain in his eyes, the same pain I saw in the wolf's. I reach out and gently take his injured arm. His skin is cold like marble, except for the searing heat of the silver burn. He hurt you, I whisper, my thumb stroking the unblemished skin just below the wound. It is nothing, he grits out, but I can see the lie in the tight line of his jaw. He tries to pull his arm away, but I hold fast. No, I say, my voice firm. You protected us. Now let me help you. I look down at Dmitri, who is beginning to stir, and then back at the stranger. This man who is a monster, who just broke another man's wrist without a thought. I feel no fear. Only a fierce, possessive, protective surge that shocks me with its intensity. I step in front of him, shielding his body with my own, placing myself between him and the threat on the floor. It's a ridiculous gesture. I am a fragile human. He is a being of immense power, but it's an instinct I cannot fight. He protected me. I will protect him. He stares at me, his expression one of stunned, profound disbelief. The fury in his eyes melts away, replaced by something deep and raw and achingly vulnerable. It's the same look he gave me as a wolf, right before he licked my hand. The world seems to tilt on its axis. The sheer force of the moment, the adrenaline, the impossible reality of it all, crashes down on me. The edges of my vision blur. The sounds of the room, Dmitri's groans, Orion's soft cooing, the stranger's ragged breathing, fade into a distant hum. The last thing I see before the darkness claims me is his face, his luminous eyes filled with a desperate, ancient longing. Consciousness returns to me in gentle waves. The first thing I register is the scent, not the familiar pine and wood smoke of my cabin. This is something else, something ancient and clean. The smell of old stone, night-blooming flowers, and cool, still air. The second thing is the fabric beneath me. Not my rough, homespun blankets. This is silk, impossibly soft, cool, and smooth against my skin. My eyes flutter open. I am in a vast, canopied bed, in a room carved from dark, polished stone. Moonlight streams through a towering, arched window, illuminating intricate tapestries on the walls and furniture that looks like it belongs in a museum. A castle. I am in a castle. I sit up, my head spinning slightly. I'm wearing a simple, soft linen nightgown that is not my own. Where is Orion? Where is Dmitri? Where am I? He is safe. The voice comes from the shadows in the corner of the room. The man. He steps into the moonlight, and my breath catches. He is no longer wearing the dark, utilitarian clothes from my cabin. He is dressed in a simple black tunic and trousers that fit his powerful frame perfectly. The wound on his arm is gone. Not healing. Gone. As if it never existed. His beauty is even more striking in the ethereal light, but it's the expression on his face that holds me captive. It's a maelstrom of guilt, awe, and a sorrow so profound it seems to radiate from him. Orion is with Elspeth, my housekeeper. He is being cared for, he says, his voice soft, resonant. The other one has been removed. He will not trouble you again. I process this. Removed, a chillingly final word. I find I don't care what happened to Dmitri. Who are you? I whisper, my voice hoarse. He walks closer to the bed, stopping a respectful distance away. My name is Lucian. The name settles in the air between us, heavy with unspoken meaning. You were the wolf? I state, not a question. He inclines his head. I was. And Orion, he's like you. He is a fledgling of me kind, orphaned. I found him near my lands, his parents lost to hunters. His jaw tightens. Silver-bladed hunters. Vampire. The word hangs unspoken in the air, a truth so fantastical I can barely grasp it. We were fleeing them when we came upon your cabin, he continues. I was injured, desperate. I sensed something, a light in the darkness, a place of safety. He looks at me, and his eyes are filled with a wonder that makes my heart ache. I sensed you. I shake my head, trying to clear it. Why me? Why my home? Lucian takes a hesitant step closer. That is the more difficult thing to explain. He looks down at his hands, then back at me, his gaze raw with vulnerability. In my world, Serafina, for a very few of us, there exists a bond that transcends choice, that is written into the very fabric of our souls. A fated connection. One soul, one heart, split across two beings. He pauses, searching my face for understanding. It is called the Anam Cara, the soul friend, the other half of one's existence. My mind is reeling. Fated mate, a concept from fantasy novels and whispered myths. That pull I felt. I begin, remembering the moment with Orion. The connection between him and you and me. Orion sensed the bond between us, Lucian explains. Fledglings are very sensitive to such things. He was reaching for the connections that holds our family together. Our family. The words send a tremor through me. You are my Anam Cara, Serafina, he says, his voice thick with emotion. My fated mate, the one I have waited 500 years to find. The confession is so immense, so world-altering, that I can't speak. All of it. The immediate, illogical trust, the comfort I felt in his presence, the way my soul seemed to quiet when he was near, the one-sided confessions that felt like a dialogue, the bizarre, possessive need to protect him. It all clicks into place with a terrifying, beautiful clarity. When I first saw you, I whisper, my voice barely audible. In the storm, I should have been terrified, and I was. But something else was stronger. Your compassion, he says, his voice full of reverence. You saw a wounded beast and a helpless child, and you opened your door. You did not see a monster. You saw someone in need of help. Just like I was, I murmur, thinking of my own past. He looks at me, his eyes burning with an intensity that seems to see straight into my soul. That man, Dmitri, the things he said to you, a muscle feathers in Lucian's jaw. I heard it all. From the moment I first laid eyes on you, I have felt a shadow of your pain, your loneliness, your grief. It is a part of the bond, and it has been my torment to feel it and be unable to comfort you. So he did hear me. Every whispered confession by the fire. He wasn't just a silent confidant. He was a participant. The thought should feel like a violation. Instead, it feels like a homecoming. To be so completely known, so utterly seen, but the reality of it all comes crashing down. He is a vampire, an ancient, powerful, dangerous being. I am just Serafina, a broken, barren human. I don't understand, I say, shaking my head. What does this mean? What do you want from me? The question seems to wound him. He takes a step back, the vulnerable awe on his face replaced by a shuttered, pained expression. You saw what I am, Serafina, he says, his voice turning cold, distant. I am a predator, a monster that breaks men's bones and drinks the blood of the living. My world is one of darkness and violence. It is no place for someone like you, someone so full of light. He is pushing me away. After everything, after this impossible, soul-shattering revelation, he is trying to push me away. You were injured, he continues, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. The shock was too much for you. You will rest here tonight. Tomorrow I will have you taken somewhere safe, far away from here. I can provide for you. You will want for nothing. You will be able to forget any of this ever happened. He is trying to do to me what Dmitri did. Make a decision for me. Dismiss my own will. Lock me away somewhere pretty and safe where I won't be a problem. The thought ignites a fire in my belly, a rage that is hot and clean and powerful. Number, not again. I will not be dismissed. I will not be protected from a life I am just beginning to understand. I slide out of the bed, my bare feet cold against the stone floor. The linen nightgown does little to make me feel powerful, but I stand tall, lifting my chin to meet his gaze. No, I say, my voice ringing with a strength I didn't know I possessed. He looks startled. Serafina, don't you dare, I interrupt, taking a step towards him. Don't you dare talk to me like I'm a fragile piece of glass that needs to be packed away in a box. I am not her anymore. I take another step. He remains perfectly still, a dark statue of conflicted misery. You think I don't know what you are? I challenge him. I've known you were something more since the first night. I saw the way you healed. I saw the intelligence in your eyes. I felt you. I'm standing right in front of him now. close enough to feel the chill that radiates from his body. I have to crane my neck to look up into his face. "You talk about darkness and violence," I say, my voice softening slightly. "But what I saw in my cabin wasn't a monster. I saw a father protecting his child. I saw a protector defending his family." The word hangs between us again. Potent, true. "You think I'm afraid of you?" I ask, my voice dropping to a whisper. "Lucian, for 2 weeks I sat on my floor and told my deepest pains to a wolf, and that wolf listened. He didn't judge me. He didn't pity me. He just stayed. He made me feel safer than I have ever felt in my entire life." I raise a trembling hand and touch his chest. His body is hard as stone beneath the tunic and so cold. But beneath the chill, I can feel a faint, slow, rhythmic vibration. His heart. "You are not a monster to me," I whisper. "You are the other half of my soul. You said it yourself." A tear escapes his eye and traces a path down his perfectly sculpted cheek. It looks like a drop of liquid silver in the moonlight. "You deserve better," he chokes out, his voice thick with centuries of loneliness. "You deserve sunshine and laughter and a normal life." "I had a normal life," I retort, my voice sharp with remembered pain. "And it was a cold, empty hell where I was told I was worthless. I don't want that life. I want this one, with you." At that moment, a soft cry comes from the doorway. We both turn. An older woman with kind eyes and silver hair stands there, holding a now fussy Orion. She gives us a small, knowing smile. Orion sees us. He stops fussing. His little arms reach out not for me, not for Lucian, but for the space between us. He makes a soft, demanding noise. Lucian looks at the baby, then at me, his resolve crumbling. I take his hand. His fingers are like ice, but they curl around mine instantly, desperately. I take my other hand and hold it out to Orion. The old woman, Elspeth, steps forward and allows the baby to grasp my finger. And there we are. Lucian's hand in mine, my other hand held by Orion, a circuit, a family, complete. "Don't push me away," I plead, my gaze locked with his. "Don't make me be alone again. I think it would kill me." "Serafina." He breathes, my name a prayer on his lips. All the pain, all the loneliness, all the centuries of waiting are in his eyes. He leans down, his movements slow, deliberate, giving me every chance to pull away. I don't. I rise on my toes, meeting him halfway. His lips meet mine. It's not a kiss of fire and passion. It's something more. It's the feeling of a key sliding into a lock. It's the quiet click of two perfectly matched pieces finding each other after a lifetime of being apart. His lips are cold, but a warmth spreads from the point of contact, flooding my entire body, chasing away the last vestiges of fear and doubt. It's a kiss of belonging, of destiny, of home. He pulls back slightly, resting his forehead against mine. His eyes are closed. "I love you," he whispers, the confession torn from the deepest part of his ancient soul. "I have loved you since before I knew your name." "I love you too," I answer, and the truth of it resonates in every fiber of my being. I have loved the wolf. I have loved the protector. I have loved the silent keeper of my heart, and they are all him. We have found each other, and this time, no one is letting go. 6 months later, The moonlight that streams through the great hall's windows is the same moon that once illuminated my lonely cabin, but it feels different now. Warmer, kinder. The court is gathered. Hundreds of Lucian's people, the children of the night, stand in silent attendance. They are an intimidating assembly of lethal grace and ancient power. When I first arrived, their gazes were wary, suspicious. I was a fragile mortal, a strange anomaly in their world of eternal twilight. The unwanted girl. But now they look at me with respect, with acceptance. I stand beside Lucian on the raised dais, his hand holding mine. His touch is no longer shockingly cold, but a familiar, comforting coolness that anchors me. I am wearing a gown of deep midnight blue, the color of his wolf form, a silent tribute to how we met. Orion sits on a high-backed chair nearby, looking like a miniature prince, watched over by the ever-faithful Elspeth. He is growing, thriving, his twilight eyes full of mischief and intelligence. He is our son, in every way that matters. This ceremony is not a wedding, not in the human sense. It is an affirmation, a formal presentation of the prince's anamkara to his court, a declaration that I am not a guest or a consort, but the other half of their leader's soul, the heart of their family. She came to us not in strength, but in compassion. Lucian's voice rings through the silent hall, filled with a pride that makes my own heart swell. She offered sanctuary when she had none. She showed courage when she was filled with fear. She is Seraphina, my heart, my soul. She is your princess. A murmur of assent ripples through the crowd, a unified sound of loyalty and welcome. The isolated, broken woman who hid from the world is gone. In her place is me, but a version of me I never knew could exist. Strong, loved, whole. As the court begins to celebrate, a guard approaches Lucian and whispers in his ear. Lucian's expression darkens for a fraction of a second before he schools it into neutrality. "What is it?" I ask softly. "An uninvited guest at the gates," he says, his eyes searching mine. "A human. He is demanding to see you. It is Dimitri." A flicker of the old fear, the old shame, ghosts through me, but it has no power here. It's just an echo. "Let him in," I say, my voice calm. Lucian looks surprised, but he nods to the guard. A few minutes later, Dimitri is escorted into the hall. He looks diminished. His expensive suit is wrinkled, his face is pale, and there's a desperation in his eyes that I've never seen before. He falters as he takes in the scene. The grand hall, the assembled vampires, me standing beside a prince of the night. His gaze lands on me. "Seraphina?" he says, his voice cracking. I had to see you. I've been looking everywhere. My father, he cut me off. Victoria left me. Everything is falling apart. He's come here for a handout, for a solution, for me to fix his life just as he always expected me to. The old Seraphina would have felt a pang of pity. She would have felt responsible. But I am not the old Seraphina. I descend the steps of the dais alone, moving with a confidence that is new and true. I stop a few feet from him. "You're looking well, Dimitri," I say, my voice even and cool. He stares at me, at the gown, at the poise, at the lack of fear in my eyes. He seems to finally understand that the woman he knew is gone forever. "What is this?" he whispers, gesturing wildly. "What are these people? Who is he? This is my home, I say simply. These are my people, and that, I glance back at Lucian, who is watching us with an expression of fierce, unwavering love, is my husband, my family. I let the words land. I see the comprehension, the jealousy, the utter defeat dawn on his face. He came here to reclaim what he thought was his, only to find it had transformed into something he could never hope to possess or even understand. He has nothing to offer me. He has no power over me. I'm happy, Dmitri, I say, and the truth of it is the kindest, most final blow I could ever deliver. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. Without another word, I turn my back on him and walk away. I walk back to my prince, to our son, to my life. I don't look back to see the guards escorting him out. My past is finally just that. The past. Later that night, Lucian and I stand on a high balcony overlooking the moon-drenched valley. Orion is asleep in his chambers, safe and sound. The cool night air feels clean and full of promise. Lucian wraps his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. Are you all right? He asks, his voice a low rumble against my back. I'm more than all right, I say, leaning back into his solid, comforting presence. I'm home. We stand in silence for a long time, watching the stars. I think about the path that led me here. The pain, the loneliness, the years of feeling broken and unwanted. I once believed my infertility, my quiet nature, my deep, aching well of compassion were my greatest weaknesses. The flaws that made me undesirable. But it was my compassion that made me open the door that night. It was my willingness to care for the abandoned that brought me this impossible love. It was the part of me the world rejected that led me to a world where I belong. My greatest weakness was my greatest strength all along. Lucian's lips brush against my temple, a soft, cool kiss. What are you thinking about? He murmurs. I smile, a real, genuine smile that reaches my eyes. I'm thinking, I say, turning in his arms to face him, that sometimes the most beautiful flowers grow in the most broken vases. And as he lowers his head to kiss me, under the light of the eternal moon, I know with a certainty that fills every empty space inside me, that I am finally, completely, irrevocably in bloom.